Hey guys, I'm here with another video. As you can see, I'm not in one of my usual spots. I'm actually outdoors. Oh, it's the apocalypse. What am I doing here? There's cars and people and houses and gasp. Not that exciting, actually. I went to the local park to go for a run. Now I'm exhausted and sweaty and disgusting. And I also don't look too hot in this video. My eyes are puffy and probably need some chapstick. But as I've told myself, I'm pretty sure I have a lot of other concerns that are a tad more problematic than worrying about what you guys think of me in my videos. Although I do kind of look like shit. But anyway. So this is my third take at this video, and I'm kind of pissed off because it wasn't a mistake, but I have the pop-up setting for text messages on my phone enabled. So right when I was at the end of my first two takes, I got cut off because I never shut off the pop-up, and once it pops up, it cuts off the video. So I was kind of pissed off, yelling and screaming. Not really, but still kind of irritating. And anyway, so what I want to talk about in this video is capability. Now, what the hell does that mean? Why am I talking about capability? Is that even it's such a vague term? What I mean by capability is what each and every one of us is capable of at any given time. And again, it's also very vague, and there is a bug in my car. As long as it stays away from me, I can keep shooting. Otherwise, you'll probably see me flailing around. Anyway, so capability. Now, why am I talking about that? Now, I think it's important for each of us to know what we're capable of because, I'm currently going to therapy. I know some of you out there might be going to therapy. If not, maybe you've asked for advice from friends, from family, maybe not. Whatever your given situation is, it's important to know what we're capable of because there's going to be a lot of stuff thrown at us, whether it's advice, whether it's things we're hearing, we're seeing, things people are telling us. And it's just really important to know what we should listen to and what we shouldn't listen to. Because there are things, people think you hear the word advice and it's oh, it's a good thing. It's not always a good thing. It's really how you use that advice or whether you use it at all. And let me give you an example with the therapist that I'm going to see. I've been seeing her for about, I guess maybe 6 months or so. Maybe a little bit longer, since December, November, something like that. She's a nice woman, I like her, but I'm not exactly sure we're meshing. And one of the problems that I have with her is that she understands, I've talked about all my issues in depth. In fact, every session I go there for the 45 minutes, I never give her time to talk. I just talk for 45 minutes nonstop, which is really ironic because, if you leave me with somebody even a friend that I've known a long time, I have 1 minute worth of conversation and that's it. But with her, every session I can be talking for 45 minutes nonstop. So she understands all my problems. I've talked about the brain fog, about the apnea, about the social anxiety, all those things. I've gone in depth in pretty much all of our sessions. And so while she gives me some helpful advice with some of the situations I've encountered, there's also a lot of times where she sort of puts spin on things. I know I've mentioned that in prior videos, but she puts spin to make me some of the issues I know are real, exist. She sort of spins it so that it's oh, they're not really issues. And when you're putting spin on certain things, you're not going to give the right piece of advice. For example, I don't know if I mentioned there was a camp counselor job I could have taken this summer that I did not take. It's actually my fault. I was the one who tried to go for it first because I wanted to sort of, honestly, I didn't want to go back to CVS first of all, but I also wanted to finally move forward with my life. But what I realized was this, I struggled at CVS, and now I was going to be working at a camp job where I was going to be working with kids, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of multitasking, and a lot of socializing, with parents, with coworkers, people smiling, being happy. It was just probably not an environment for me to succeed. Again, it doesn't matter, like I told my therapist, it doesn't matter, if it would be a good job to take in the perfect world, under the perfect conditions. Well, we're not perfect. I was going to say we're not normal, even though that's not right, because I think a lot of you guys are normal. I'm normal. We're normal with problems. So we'll just say that. We're like half normal or whatever. But, so, for me, I just eventually came to the decision, like, you know what, I'm not going to do the camp. And I was confident that I made the right decision. And I was really trying to be as logical about it as much as I could. But what she was telling me was like, oh, you know what, just go ahead. Before I actually made the decision, she was like, go ahead, try it, see how things go. You can always quit or try to work something out if it doesn't work out after the first couple of weeks. And really implying, it wasn't just like, when someone tells you to do something like, oh, like, reconsider. It was sort of one of those things where she was implying that if you just tried it, everything was going to be fine. Or it's all in your head, basically. And there are certain issues also with the brain fog and things like that, where she's sort of making it like you're putting too much pressure on yourself, you're being hard on yourself, or at least, like, there was even times where she was like, oh, like, implying, like, oh, we all have brain fog. And I'm like, are you kidding me, woman? Like, I didn't say that to her, but I was saying, like, you gotta be kidding me. You did not just, like, after my entire, like, 45-minute spiel, come to the conclusion that my brain fog is just like everybody else's. Or my anxiety or whatever is just like everybody else's. I'm like, but whatever. So she doesn't really get it. But, so she sort of put the spin on that, I should have tried out, for the camp. Maybe I should have went there and did it. And I'm like, you know what? No. And when I went to her next session, I'm like, you know what? I told them I wasn't going to be back or I wasn't going to do the camp. And I was confident in the decision. Why? Because I knew I made the right one for me. Now, what did that mean for me? Well, besides the fact that I was likely going to be in a struggle, and I told her, yeah, there was like maybe like a 5% chance that things would have been okay. But you know what? There was also a 95% chance things wouldn't have been okay. And there's a awkward guy rollerblading in front of me. Okay. Anyway, so I'm like, you know what? I wasn't going to put myself in that position where I know I'm probably going to fail. But even more important is the fact that I'm like, you know what? I know me well enough to know that if I would have done the camp and struggled, I would have came home every night depressed. My self-esteem would have dropped. And no matter how many tips and how many tricks you give me, like, again, don't put pressure on yourself, sort of live in the moment, sort of like almost either self-esteem boosters or mood changers, like trying to keep perspective. No matter how many of those you try to give me, I know myself, I know I would have been really depressed working on the camp, and it wouldn't have been worth it. And the other thing, which again I know I've mentioned in prior videos, is that just by trying it, like, again, the same thing with my dad and my mom, people just think you just try and you'll succeed. And I'm like, you know what, life doesn't work like that. Like, if I just, try it out for, like, the Mets, am I going to make the baseball team? No! People just, like, people know, if I ask them in life, do you think just by trying that, for example, you're going to get a promotion in your job? No. Right, so why does it have to be the same way with social anxiety or with depression or with whatever it is? It's because it's not like that. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit onto a tangent here. But anyway, so I was confident enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. Now, on the flip side, there have been times when she's like, I've mentioned parties to her, certain social situations that have happened in the past, and she was like, you should try it. And in my heart, I'm like, I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't want to do it. But I'm like, you know what? She's actually right. And so what I've learned to do is that whenever there's situations like that where I know, logically speaking, it's not going to be that bad, at least, or at least it's only like, the camp was different because that was like an entire summer. I would have been there, 8 to 4 every day. If I go to the party and it's not if I struggle, it's not the end of the world. And there's still a chance I might get something out of it. And so what I've learned to do with myself is that even when somebody brings up I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Brings up like a new experience or brings up something for me to do. Instinctively, I'm going to not want to do it. I'm going to say, like, you know what? Like, I'm not feeling it or I'm nervous. I'm just going to try to get out of it. But I've learned to tell myself recently, like, for example, I went upstate with my dad earlier in the summer. And as soon as he mentioned it to me, once I knew I was free, those days, I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And after I said that, I was like, man, I shouldn't have said that, And even the days leading up to when we went, I was, like, frustrated and upset and nervous. But you know what? I know I did the right thing in my heart. And I went, and I can't say, like, my therapist will say, oh, I had, like, everything wasn't so bad. But I survived, I managed, it wasn't the end of the world. And, I made my dad happy, things like that. So that was pretty much the opposite side of the spectrum, where I knew myself well enough to be like, you know what, these things aren't going to be situations that destroy me. Even if there is a chance things go bad, I know myself well enough to say, like, you know what, in both cases, you have the same, or at least I had the same sort of negative reaction when, thinking about the camp, am I going to succeed or not? Or, oh, the party, am I going to enjoy myself? Am I going to make a fool of myself? Will people make fun of me? Like, things like that. It's the same type of reaction, but I took two different courses of action because I knew myself well enough. And I also tried to be logical about it. And I said, you know what? Party, yes. Camp, no. And so now, I know I've been talking about myself this whole video. I really didn't want to, but I just wanted to give you guys a clear example. It's important to know how you're going to react to certain situations, and what's the best course of action for you, what you're capable of. And it also extends to not just certain situations, but like with me with the brain fog, I've learned really within like the last 12 hours, literally today, that like, you know what, there were just certain times for whatever reason I can't think, I can't do stuff, and you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go sit outside and do nothing. Like, I'm just going to not, instead of, like, trying to force myself to do stuff or, like, getting angry or upset, I'm like, you know what, screw it. Why am I doing this to myself? I'm just going to be like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm just going to chill out, basically. Because I just said, you know what, I've learned that I'm not capable of doing things. So I think it's important that, look, it's important to take advice. It's important to listen to other people. Listen to what they have to say. But I think it's important for it to be within context. For example, if you're getting advice from people who really don't understand, it doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to the advice or at least hear them out, but you should also really understand yourself and understand, can you really handle these situations? Are you capable of succeeding? And again, this is not meant to be like a be-all, end-all of conversations about this. It isn't meant to be, like a black and white picture. Because, again, there are plenty of times where we're going to think we're not capable of things, and maybe we are. And it's tough because, like, for example, some of you out there, I know you guys think you're ugly. And there's a good chance you're probably not, but I understand that it's sort of like ingrained within you. So that even if, myself and a million other people say you're not ugly, you're still going to think that. Now, if I asked you, do you honestly really think you're that ugly? Logically speaking, no emotions attached, not looking at yourself in the mirror, do you really think you're like dirt ugly? You'll probably tell me no, and I hope you do. Maybe some of you will still say yes, but I just mean sort of like in the back of your mind, you kind of know that, hey, people tell me not ugly. I probably know I'm not really that ugly, but you still feel like you are. You can't shake that feeling, and I understand that. I completely understand it. But, like, so that's why it's hard. Like, if somebody said to you, oh, if you were talking to your therapist, and somebody that you find attractive asked you just to, like, go to the movies, or something simple, not like a big social situation, just like, ask you to do something simple. And you're like, oh, I'm too ugly, they're out of my league, and things like that. It's tough because our brains are wired to think a certain way, and it's like, you're like convinced you're 100% right, I'm ugly, I can't do this. But sometimes you need to go into situations really knowing what's the truth. Like, with me in the parties, I know every time, or not even just parties, against social situations, I know some of them I'm going to react terribly no matter what. I'm going to react negatively. But sometimes I know myself well enough, through experience and through just logic, that, you know what, I should just say yes before I even give myself a chance to say no. Or to cop out, or to put things off and then be like, oh, I can't make it, or whatever. Sorry if my hand's shaking, by the way. I don't have the steadiest of hands. So, again, this is a tough thing to talk about because sometimes we're convinced of certain things that are really the way things are, and sometimes we're convinced of things that things aren't like that. Like, some of you think you're ugly. It's not true. Some of you may think I can't succeed in this social situation. You may be right. At least for right now, you may not be able to succeed. it's, I really hate when people talk about, just things being, just trying and things succeeding, and it doesn't work like that. So, I know probably the moral of the story has kind of been lost in my rambling and my ranting, but just trusting in yourself, or at least knowing when to trust in yourself and when not to. And I know that sounds weird, you always want to trust in yourself, but there are certain things we're emotional about, and we know that about ourselves. We know ourselves well enough to say, you know what, I get emotional about this when I really shouldn't. And there are times when I get emotional and I really should. And for me, that example would be like, I got emotional about, or, concerned about the camp job. And I was right to be, because I probably wouldn't have succeeded. But with the parties, I'm not going to say I should be, like, not nervous or anything like that. But, there's still some merit in going. So, it's just, I know not to trust myself how I feel in those situations. That's really, when do you trust your feelings? And I think it's important to discern that and to really decide for yourself. So, again, my moral's kind of mixed here. Like, I'm saying trust yourself, but don't. Trust yourself in certain situations. Take advice, but sometimes don't. But I really hope you're understanding, or understand what I'm trying to get at here, because it's kind of hard to explain. This video is already 16 minutes long. I didn't want to make it this long, but just, like, I'm trying to figure out how to break 17 minutes of video down into, like, a simple phrase. I mean, wouldn't you wish life were like that? Just, like, take all the problems you have right now, all the anxiety, and all the, like, bad shit you've been through, and all the negative experiences, negative thoughts. Don't you just wish you could, like, sort of sum it up? Like, put it into, like, a pill form and just, like, this is everything. Like, let me just stomp on it, crush it. But anyway, getting off track again. So, to sort of wrap this all up, just, again, a lot of this is going to be through experience and through trial and error, where you learn, like, I did this and it really was bad. Or, I got nothing positive about it. And I did this and it really wasn't that bad. So, to try to learn when to trust your emotions and when to trust your judgment. And it's hard because, sometimes it's clouded, sometimes it's clear. But, I really am going to say always trust yourself first. Listen to people's advice, try to take it in, but don't, there's good advice and there's bad advice in the world, and know yourself first and foremost. Know what you can handle, know what's really in your heart. I don't know if that last one made sense, but it sounded good. Trust in your heart. Anyway, say goodbye to the outdoors. I'll probably shoot more videos like this. I'm using, like, the forward-facing camera on my phone, and honestly, the quality's probably better. My voice is probably, there's no background noise, I'm guessing, so. But again, it's like, when do I have the time for this? Not home, not constantly under surveillance. But anyway, I'm sorry this video's long again. I will be saying that at the end of every video, because I really am sorry, but I just want you guys, you guys are strong. And, see, I'm not sure if I said this now in my last take or this take, but we're all strong. We think that we're not capable of a lot of things, but, guess what? And this is going to sound sort of, a bit, may touch a couple of nerves, but none of us has committed suicide yet. I've thought about it. I'm sure many of you may have thought about it, but, we haven't done it yet. If you're 18 years old, 20, if you're 22 like me, 30, 40, whatever age you are, we have gone through thousands of days in our lives, and we're still here. We've been through, so many bad experiences, and yet we're still here. So never forget that we're strong. Never forget that you're strong, and that, we've been through a lot to get here. I know it's no consolation prize. Honestly, you tell me that, and I don't really feel stronger. I'm like, my life still sucks, but, just don't forget that we are strong, and that, we've gotten here for a reason. We've endured this long for a reason. So, thank you for watching. I hope I've helped in some way. And, again, leave comments if you want. Message me, whatever. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.